Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today is the long-awaited part 2 of my Overwatch League 2020 pre-season power rankings. If you did not see part 1, it will be linked in the playlist at the end of the video. It will also be linked on its own in the description and in the cards. So check that out if you want to. If you don't want to check out part 1, you just want a quick look at what my rankings were. Here they are for my first part of the video, so you know where we are at with the second part. And of course, as I mentioned last time, these are my rankings, these are my opinions. You may disagree with what I say, but I just want to put that out there. And of course, if you have any thoughts on anything that I talk about, let them or leave them in the comment section down below. I'd love to have a conversation about it, I'd love to talk about it, and see what other people think about my rankings and what their own rankings are. So with that being said, let's move on to the team that I have at number 10, which is the Los Angeles Gladiators. Now, I think the Gladiators are a team that a lot of people are going to put higher on their power rankings, and a lot of people have. I just have some doubts and some reasons to be somewhat worried about this LA Gladiators roster. And the main thing is their DPS lineup. Birdring, Mirror, and Jaru do not make me feel super confident in the damage lineup that this team has. I look at Shaz and I look at Big Goose as a support line, and I think that's a very strong support line. I think Space OG is a very good tank line. But I don't look at this damage lineup and feel confident. Birdring was inconsistent for 2 seasons, and maybe a change of scenery, a new coaching staff, maybe that will help him. Maybe he'll have more resources to help him improve. I mean, he's already a very well-known good player, but maybe being here will be better for him as a whole. I don't know. Mir and Jaru are players who are coming up. They have some history of performing well, but I think they're not the most... it feels like a weakness on this roster that has been very good for so many seasons. They bring in these damage dealers. They're not super strong. I think they could definitely be better than a top 10 team. I think they have what it takes. I'm just worried about where they are, and I think that it's going to be difficult for them, early on especially, to get some of those wins. I think later on they could definitely find more success, but early on I think they're going to struggle, and it's why I'm worried about this team, and it's why I have them at number 10. Next, at number 9, I have the Seoul Dynasty. Now this is another interesting team. Seoul Dynasty started off the offseason making a lot of really good moves. A lot of really good moves, ones that I supported, ones that I thought were very good for this team, and that I thought would be really good for them, and I thought they would make this team really up there. But then they didn't make enough moves after that, right? They got rid of Munchkin during the season last season, and then after the season they got rid of Zunba and Jexa and Fleta and Hailey and Jaehong. And all they added were Prophet and Gesture, which are good additions, and Creative, who's a decent addition, and Badoshin. I think that they're going to have a pretty good tank line. I'm worried about their support line. I think Toby's a good player. I really like Toby. I thought he had a lot of really great moments last season. I think they needed another main support player, though, because Toby isn't the most confident building main support out there. I think other than Prophet, I think Fitz and Illicit are okay. I think their tank line is good. I think when you have either Marvel or Gesture alongside Michelle, I think that'll be pretty good. But ultimately, I think that they have some question marks in some of these other areas. But I put them ahead of the Gladiators because I'm more confident in their entire roster as a whole. I think there's some question marks surrounding their support line, but I don't think it's bad. And I have some questions surrounding their damage dealers, but because of how good Prophet is, right, you just give Prophet the resources that he needs. I think he's going to perform really well. And he has 2 people next to him who will be able to back him up in a way that works for him, in a way that is better for the team. So I actually think that where this team is better. I think they're all around a better team than what the Gladiators are, just because I have more doubts about the Gladiators, and it's very close for me. These two teams, they're very close. It was this area of like 7 through 10 was very hard for me to rank, but I ultimately decided to put the Seoul Dynasty in here at 9, and that is where we are with that. Moving on to the number 8 team in my power rankings, I have the Guangzhou Charge. The Charge are an interesting team. They didn't make a ton of moves. They got rid of players mostly, I guess, which is, I guess, somewhat significant. They brought in some players. I thought the players they brought in, I think it was an interesting group of players that they brought in. But nothing that makes me feel like, ooh, they brought in a player that I think will completely change everything, right? Krong is the only player they brought in who I think will even start for this team. I don't think Neptuno is going to start. I think Krong was really the main player who they brought in, who's actually going to do anything. I don't expect Weah to start. I don't expect Neptuno to start. So I expect them to be somewhat similar to where they were last year. That's just what I see with this team. I thought they were very good at the end of the season last season. I think when you give Nero a full season of play, I think they're going to be a lot better. I think we're going to look at Nero as a sleeper potential MVP candidate. Like, he was that good last season at the end of the season, but he only played for like half the season. But when he was playing, he was really, really good. And when he was playing and this team was able to play the way that worked for them, this team was one of the best teams in the league. But of course, they fell short in the play-in tournament. So I'm interested to see how this team does going forward, and how this team performs in the near future. But I'm very intrigued, and I think this Guangzhou Charge roster is going to be pretty good. But I'm a little hesitant to put them above this spot, just because I think they still have to prove themselves capable of fully going all in and getting everything going the way they want to. But I think they're very close to being a very, very dominant team. And I think that they will be a very strong performing team when all is said and done. Moving on to my number 7 team, I have the Hangzhou Spark. And the Hangzhou Spark are a team that they would be higher if they made more moves. But because they didn't make a ton of moves, I put them down pretty low. I guess at the end of the day, they're not that low. They're still pretty high up on the list for being number 7. But I look at this team, and I think that, they only added 2 players in the offseason, and it was Coldest and Mika, who are 2 very well-known Chinese players. I don't think they're going to be their support line. I think they're going to stick with IDK and Bebe, though maybe Bebe will get replaced by Coldest, because I've heard some very good things about Coldest. But I don't expect Mika to start over IDK. That just seems crazy. I think this is a really good team still. I really like what they have. I think that they are a team that a lot of people are sleeping on. I still think they're going to perform very well. I think their biggest question mark that a lot of people have been pointing to is DPS. Because, you obviously know Godsby can play, but Edora or Sasin are really your only other options. And that's where people say, well, who do you really want in that situation? Could they have gone after another DPS player, and maybe should they have? Possibly, but I still think this is a solid roster. I still think they're a very good team who are going to have a very good shot at making the playoffs. They were a team who I thought last season, it took them some time to adapt to metas, but they were very, very good at them once they got there. And they became a team that was so good and so dominant once they picked it up, that as that carries throughout the season, that could be an issue, of course, with the way that the hero pools are going to work and the way that the patches are just going to kind of come, and it's just an ever-changing patch and season type thing. So it could be a problem for this team. But ultimately, I think that it's going to be a team that is successful. I think they're going to play very well. And I think that they will find themselves in a good position, but I still don't feel confident putting them above 7. Up next at number 6, I have the Philadelphia Fusion. I think the Philadelphia Fusion are a team that are very good, but I have them this low because I need to fully see that they are capable of going all in and performing at an extremely high level. Because I look at this team and I see some very good players. Carpe and Fury and Alarm. Those are some really good names. You have EQO next to Carpe still. This is a very, very, very good roster. And then you have your players like Chipsa and Hisu and Boombox and Poco, who are just kind of your backup guys, and Ivy, you know. So I think this is a very good roster. I just need to know and see that they are able to perform at the high level that we kind of expect them to. And I think they will. I think the team is that good, and I think they have the resources and the players that they're going to get to that point. It's just a question of how will they play going forward. I think you look at Carpe in particular as a player who had a kind of weak season last season, and you think maybe he'll be better next season, or you at least hope he'll be better next season. There's some question marks surrounding Carpe in that way, but I think this is a very good Fusion roster. I think that they are one of the teams that will be significantly improved from last season. I really like the addition of Fury. Seeing Alarm get moved up is a well-deserved promotion. Funny Astro is the interesting one for me as their starting main support. He's the only one they have. So I'm curious to see how this team does when it's going to most likely be 4 to 5 players on the team at any given moment are Korean players. Because you're going to have Carpe, you're going to have Sada, you're going to have Fury, you're going to have Alarm playing every time, pretty much. And then you're going to have either EQO or maybe Ivy or Hisu playing, though probably not because Hisu's a hit scan player. So you're going to have like EQO or Ivy and maybe Chipsa in that DPS slot, and they're going to have Funny Astro. So that's really where I'm interested to see how this team works, but I think they're going to be just fine. I think it's a very good roster. I think they're going to have a good season, and that's why I have them at number 6. Next, at number 5, I have the Vancouver Titans. A lot of people have lost confidence in the Vancouver Titans, primarily because of the moves that they made at the main tank position, obviously. We saw them get rid of Tizzy and Bumper, as well as Hureg and Repel, but that's not as much of what people have issues with. It's the fact that they got rid of Bumper and Tizzy. Of course, Bumper had been playing with these players for years and years and years, and they got rid of him, which a lot of people are not super thrilled by. And they had Tizzy, who played well during the playoffs, and then they got rid of him as well, and they replaced him with Fissure. There's a lot of doubt surrounding Fissure and all this other stuff. And I've heard some takes about that Fissure will be a more resource-intensive main tank than Bumper ever was, which I don't agree with. I think that's just wrong. Bumper, I think, was the most resource-intensive main tank. I think Fissure is less so. But ultimately, I look at this team. I cannot say I think this team is going to be worse or is going to be bad when what you have is a team who finished first overall in the league last season, not including playoffs, just by record. They had the best record in the league, okay? And the only thing that changed from their starting roster is that they got rid of Bumper and Tizzy for a main tank who is arguably a top 3 main tank in the league. So I can't really knock them. I don't think they're going to be as good, but that's less because of Fissure and more because I don't think that they played as well late in the season because it wasn't a meta that really suited them. I think with the addition of Fissure, I think you have a more flexible main tank. The worry, I think, overall is we know how good Haxel is at Genji and Pharah. How deep is Haxel's hero pool? Who is this team's really good Widowmaker player? Because Stitch isn't super well known for his Widowmaker player, or his Widowmaker play, and Sominsu isn't really known for his Widowmaker play. That's really what it comes down to, is how good are they going to be if that's where these metas are going, and now that we have hero pools and heroes are going to switch out and whatnot. it's just a matter of what are we going to see. But I still think this is going to be a very good team. I can't bump this team down too low with the way they performed last season. The tools they still have this season at their disposal, I think they're going to be just fine. I have them at 5. I wouldn't be surprised if they were higher, but they also could be lower. I acknowledge that. But 5 is about where I want to put them because I think that they have a pretty good roster. Next, at number 4, I have the Shanghai Dragons. I love what the Shanghai Dragons have done in this offseason. I think they had one of the best off seasons of any team in the league this season. I think they made their team so much better than it was before. Now, the only area where I think it's like you're going to have to point to and say, I don't think this is better, is main tank. Going from Guangzhou to Stand 1 and Fearless is definitely a risk. I don't know who's going to start. It'll probably be Fearless. I think a lot of people are under the impression it'll be Fearless. I didn't watch a lot of him in Contenders last year. A lot of people said that he played very, very well, and he was one of the best players on Team CC in Contenders. So I believe people. I'd probably be their starting main tank. Of course, he was on the team last season. Had like a health issue, so he went back to Korea to rehab. That's when they brought in Guangzhou, and they just kept rolling with Guangzhou. So now Fearless is back. He's once again their guy, though they do have a backup at Stand 1. But I look at this team, and I just think it's so good. You have Diem and Ding and Fleta as your DPS players, with Lip in there as well, but those first 3 are the main 3. That's a really good damage lineup. You have Void at Flex Tank, which is an improvement. You have Fearless at main tank, which is a decent pickup. And then you have Izayaki and Lee Jae-gon at support. This is a very good team. They have Moon at head coach, of course, who led the LA Valiant in 2018. He also led them at the start of 2019, which is a note that I definitely think could be a problem because they had somebody who legitimately did not do a good job at his job. And made a lot of mistakes, I think, coaching the LA Valiant last season, which will cost him his job. But I look at this team. I love what they've done. I think this is a very good team, a very strong team, and I think we're going to see a lot of really good things out of this Shanghai Dragons roster. And I expect to be very, very, very impressed and excited watching this team because I think that's where their roster is at right now. Next is my number 3 team, which is the Atlanta Reign. The Atlanta Reign are a team that a lot of people are putting very, very high on this list, and I can't really disagree with people who put the Atlanta Reign at number 2 or number 3 or number 4. I think this is a team that looks very good. They've done a lot of really good things to improve their roster, bringing in Hawk and Edison and Sharp. They are going to have a very, very, very strong roster. Edison and Erster together are going to be very good, I think. Plus, you can still put in Sharp or Baby Bay based on what you need. If you want to put them in, obviously, you can just do that. There were talks that they were going to add 2 more support players. They're going to have a 12-man roster. That hasn't happened. There hasn't been any announcements of 2 more players, but they have what they have right now. I love what they've done. I think this team is going to be very good going forward. I think this is going to be a team that we look at as potentially taking NYXL's crown of Atlantic Conference champions, something that no team has done yet. New York is the only team to win the Atlantic Conference. Granted, there's only been 2 seasons, but you get the idea. So I love what this team has done. I think that they have a bunch of really, really, really good players and a lot of really big names. This is a team that really impressed me late in the season last season. I think they're only better than they were last season, and I think you give them a full season of being able to perform at this high level, and I think we're going to see the Atlanta Reign be a very, very, very good team and a very dominant team in the 2020 season. Up next at number 2, I have the NYXL. Now, as you all know, I am an NYXL fan. Take from that what you will. I love what the NYXL did this offseason. Yes, they lost Meko, which is a loss that I think a lot of people have all agreed you can't really replace Meko very easily. But I like the moves that they made to do that, or at least attempt to do that. You still have the same big name players that they've had since 2018. You still have Sabiobi and Libero and Mono and Jonak. You have Animo at main support. You have Mandu now as a backup main support when he's able to play. Maybe he'll even take the starting role. I don't know. You still have Nene, who I don't know how much Nene will play. He'll probably be their hit scan player for the most part, but I'd expect a lot of SBB Libero or SBB Who Are You, who they got, obviously. And then you have Hapa Bianca as your flex tanks. You can switch them out as you need them. And I think with hero pools, it's going to be a really important thing. I think we're going to see a lot of Hapa Bianca, and we might even see a lot of switch between the damage dealers as a result of that. I love what this team did. I think they made a lot of really good moves. I think part of why they're at number 2 is because they're going to be in the Atlantic Conference. The Atlantic Conference is still the weaker of the 2 conferences. I think NYXL put themselves in a very good position to win it again. Atlanta is, I think, going to be their biggest challenge, but I don't think Atlanta is going to be as good. I think they're going to be very good, and I think it's going to be very close. And I think that's going to be a really big rivalry. I think New York versus Atlanta is a rivalry that is really developing into a good one, just because of how last season went, and they both look to be very good this season. So that's an exciting one. But I still think NYXL are better just because of where they are as a team. I think that they have done more as a team to make me confident that they will perform at an extremely high level going into 2020. And I feel good about what they've done. I'm just repeating myself at this point in time. I think they're good, and I don't want to take anything away from them for that. Finally, we have the number 1 spot, which obviously everyone knew who it was going to be from the very beginning. It's the San Francisco Shock. Who else would it be? They just won last season. They were dominant when they won last season. And the roster's pretty much the same. Nevix is gone, went to the Toronto Defiant. They bring in ANS, who will maybe play. Probably not, though, because they don't really need ANS. This roster's really, really good. This is a really good team. I think we're going to see this team as the best team in the league once again. I would wager they will probably be a grand finalist, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won the grand finals. This is what they built for back in 2018, was to be a dominant team, was to be the best team in the league. And I don't really think that has changed. I still think they're very good. I still think they're a very top team. And I really don't see a way that they wouldn't be a number 1 overall team just based on how good they are and everything we've seen out of them. But we'll find out. We will see what happens with this team this season, and we'll see if they're able to repeat. Those are my power rankings. If you want to see the whole thing all together, boom, there they are, all 20 of them. So that's everything I have for you today. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, let me know your thoughts on anything that I talked about down below. Give me your own power rankings, whatever you want to do. I'd love to have discussions about it in the comments down below, but that's everything that I have for you today. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing. Hope you all have a wonderful day. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.